Hi, I'm James.
I'm Shreya.
I'm Matthew.
And I'm Darshan.
And this is our recommendations for CClear. So first today, we're going to talk about an executive summary of what we think CClear should do. But then we'll go into an overview of how facial recognition is being used in the retail sector. We'll talk about some factors to consider in this decision before finally creating some detailed policy recommendations for CClear to adopt.
We recommend that CClear sell their technology to retail companies with the following restrictions. First, they should create mandatory facial recognition databases for theft. Secondly, they should create an opt-in facial recognition database for customers to improve retail shopping experiences. Thirdly, they should implement racial bias mitigation technologies. And finally, they should abide by state laws.
So facial recognition in the retail sector is dependent on facial recognition as an industry, which is growing really quickly. It's worth about $10 billion by 2025, which is more than double what it was just in 2018. Within the retail sector, more than 30% of retailers use some form of facial recognition technology, including some of the country's largest, like Walmart and Target. Because of COVID-19, there's been a decline in retail sector sales, especially in brick and mortar stores, which means that retail companies need to figure out how to use their labor more efficiently and create more customer-tailored programs. Facial recognition technology can bridge those gaps by predicting when customers are going to come into the store and how to use detailed personalized experiences to turn visits into sales, creating a huge opportunity for both sectors. IBM, Amazon, Microsoft, and other large corporations, however, have decided last year that they are either withdrawing or pausing their facial recognition technology programs because of their ties to law enforcement and a lot of increased public pressure around those ties, which means that for these smaller businesses, there's huge potential for growth. Right now, the biggest companies in retail are Face First, an American company that accounts for 50% of all retail facial recognition sales, and other small businesses or startups. Walmart, Target, McDonald's, and Amazon, and other large corporations tend to use their own proprietary technology. There's also some serious competition from firms from China, like Megvii and Deepcam, Japan, which includes NEC and Aionix, and Axis Communications and others in Sweden. Right now, China is at the cutting edge of facial recognition technology, with their ability to implement real-time scans, as well as to have increased facial recognition accuracy in some other difficult use cases.
So now let's look at the various factors that CClear should consider. On the ethical side, bias is one of the largest problems with facial recognition today. Bias in facial recognition is rampant for a couple of reasons that can be summarized pretty clearly as a lack of diversity. On an algorithmic level, there's a lack of diversity in the data that's being fed to the algorithms during the learning phase. And as a result, they often fail to identify and recognize individuals that are not white males. Additionally, the algorithm is fed data that is biased, collected from biased criminal records that are a result of over-policing. And so the algorithm learns that same way. And third, there's a lack of diversity in the development team of the algorithms, which prevents perspective. Bias presents itself in multiple ways. There's racial bias, which is harmful because it often misidentifies BIPOC individuals or finds them to be not human at all. Also, the data from over-policing could result in the glossing over of white individuals as suspects. On a gender bias level, gender-based bias results in transgender or non-binary individuals being unidentifiable by the algorithm, which prevents the efficacy of the technology. So what does ethical facial recognition look like? It looks like a company that accedes to any external audits regarding their algorithm. It requires maintaining consistent and transparent evaluations of the technology performance and making sure that information is accessible. It also involves tracking usage statistics to measure the impact on minority groups and then correcting and mitigating that impact onwards.
Apart from the ethical factors to consider, there's also some legal and technical. First is state privacy laws. First, there's no comprehensive federal law, so all challenges to facial recognition come from the state level. Illinois has the most strict data privacy laws, and that's led Facebook and Clearview to cancel all contracts in the state. And this is because Illinois has a consent-based model in which no biometric information can be used without written consent. Apart from Illinois, CClear has to also take into account that they have to be able to adapt to new data privacy laws that are being passed in many states. Furthermore, there are legal factors in data storage. Over 6 states require that individuals have their ability to delete their biometric information from being used.
Furthermore, on the note of data security, currently 28 states require that companies securely store biometric information. In order to implement proper data security, we recommend CClear to adhere to the national standards such as the NIST cybersecurity framework. Furthermore, another important factor to consider is data privacy, and this involves informing the consumer at every step of using facial recognition technology. This means informed consent to use, informing the consumer how that information will be used, and also informing the consumer in any case that this data would need to be shared. Furthermore, data collection is another huge part of data privacy because there are many privacy concerns that are associated with web scraping and forming these data sets. In order to alleviate this, we also recommend that CClear can also look into potentially GAN-generated or AI-generated data.
Now on to our recommendations for the adoption of this technology. For one, CClear needs to take action to mitigate the biases that are involved in facial recognition. One of the biggest steps to do this, as found by MIT, is to diversify the development team. So we recommend they diversify the development team of their algorithms by 30% to ensure a greater perspective when creating the algorithms. In addition, CClear should invest 50% of their R&D budget back into rebuilding their algorithm to ensure that they can have different inputs with putting more weight onto minority photographs in the information, as well as including a larger volume of minority information in the database. And third, we ask that they learn to abide by all algorithmic standards and encourage external audits by groups like the Algorithmic Justice League and NIST.
Next, CClear should make sure that all of its retail partners sign a commitment to ethics. That means first, preventing that their technology from being used for racial profiling. And second, making sure that their partners promise to use the same facial recognition technology across all of their stores, not just in ones that happen to be predominantly communities of color or have a lower socioeconomic status. Then they should also force them to pledge not to provide any access to these systems for law enforcement agencies and only give the names of potential shoplifters. Then they should also make it so that opt-in systems are mandatory for services unrelated to loss prevention, like a tailored customer experience or rewards programs. Finally, they should force all of their clients to acknowledge that they've purchased CClear's technologies publicly. And that leads into the other component of their adoption, which is managing the public relations component. Transparency and advertising are the two key elements of good public relations. First, CClear should make it very clear and easy to find online what's being tracked, how that information is being used, and where it's being kept, so that any inquisitive consumers can find their answers quickly. Second, their tech, methodology, and clients should also be available online. With regards to advertising, we're not sure of CClear's budget or scope, so $10 million is just a guess, but we want to make sure that we're spending enough money to encourage our customers to buy into these opt-in systems to tailor their customized retail experiences, because we think it can enhance shopping experiences. And we want to make sure that we're making sure that facial recognition isn't only being known for its potential harms.
Apart from the adoption of CClear, we also want to focus on the implementation recommendations. First, CClear should take technical precautions. By doing this, first, they should create two separate databases. First is for shoplifting that scans all shoppers, but only matches them to personal information after shoplifting incidents. Secondly, they should create a consumer benefits database that only scans shoppers who positively consent to facial recognition technology usage and uses them to enhance shopping experience.
Furthermore, we would like to prioritize data security. And if facial images need to be stored, then we want them to be stored locally rather than in a centralized or cloud location that could be manipulated digitally. Furthermore, we recommend that the data be deleted regularly if it is no longer needed. In addition, we want to abide by legal guidelines, and we recommend that we do not do business in the state of Illinois altogether. Furthermore, we also want to allow individuals to have the option to delete their biometric data in compliance with the right to be forgotten, which is in the cornerstone of all biometric protection acts.
With other facial recognition companies scared to enter the market, there is a window of opportunity. So we recommend CClear take these ethical, legal, and technical recommendations and seize this opportunity. Thank you.